Four o'clock on the East Coast. Ring the bell, lady from Vanguard. Ring the bell. Press that button. Up, someone's doing. There it goes. Ding, ding, ding. 4 o'clock means the market's closed on Wall Street, and the show is open. Bolling show is open on RAV. All right, folks, look at it. Dow down 266, but look over there, a little lower. The Nasdaq up 301, 1.5 points. 1.5% higher. It's quite the move. Gold up 26 bucks. Oil up $1.74. We'd like to see that a little bit lower. I will tell you this morning, the good news is inflation number came out. It was lower than expected. It was only 0.2% inflation increase from the prior month. Remember, we were pushing 9% under Joe Biden. This is the lowest inflation number in 4 years since Trump left office. So clearly, Trump knows what he's doing when it comes to inflation. Kind of a quiet day anyway. All right, folks, a few minutes ago, I had the opportunity to talk to a guy who, and I'll set this up a little bit. He was an oil trader, and he partnered with another oil trader, and these guys are European, and somehow one found out the other was trading Russian oil, which is completely illegal. They've been sanctioned, and now there's a massive feud going on. Take a listen to our first guest. All right, let's bring in our first guest, and his name is Gaurav Srivastava. And he is, I guess you can call him, he's being targeted. Now, this is a fascinating story. I come from a long history of oil trading. That's my background. And a good friend of mine who's also an oil trader sent this story to me. And then another friend said, you must talk about this. So let's bring in Gaurav Srivastava. Please tell the audience exactly how this went down. There was an oil trading going on between you and someone who you became a partner with. It went south because you found out some pretty damning information about your partner at the time, and then it all went south. So please just set it up for us.
So I heard about the gentleman. His name is sanctioned now, thrice sanctioned. His name is Niels Troost. And he reached out to me through some of my gatekeepers who brought this business deal to me. We ended up doing this partnership, but I figured out that it was all a setup and that he was using this as a way to trade illegally sanctioned Russian oil, which was completely illegal at that time. And when I figured this out, and he knew I knew about it, and I reported him, he went on this extensive disinformation campaign, which really affected my kids' life, my personal lives, to the point where it was a very, very dark place for me because of what he did. And it was all just to cover up the illegal trade that he was doing.
It's fascinating, Gaurav, because I'm a trader, and I know how you don't need to do some of the things that he did. So at some point, you guys develop a business partnership, and then you want to go into look into the books because you're making an investment, and you find that he's going around sanctions, illegally trading Russian oil, because right now the United States is still then in 2023 and is still sanctioning oil purchases and trading with Russian oil. Go ahead.
Not only is he illegally trading oil, he is using and creating fake receipts. He's creating fake documents. He's using fake bank accounts. He is moving money to sanctioned Russian individuals that are deeply, deeply connected to the Russian war machinery, and doing all that out of a company that on the facade of it was a trading company. And when I figured out exactly what he was doing, he went on to create this narrative and destroy my name on Google through 347 pay-to-play articles.
So he was sanctioned. I believe I read that he was sanctioned by the EU, the UK, and also the U.S. Treasury in some form or another. Yes.
And Switzerland, Monaco, and France. And he is the first EU national to ever be sanctioned, which means that his home country of Netherlands agreed to put him on the sanction list, which is unprecedented. It's never happened before. Mm-hmm. And there was a tweet that I made this morning on my Twitter account that talked about how Bar, which is another oil trader that was sanctioned by the UK today, was basically the Financial Times, which had written about me, wrote that it's a great thing that the UK sanctioned Bar, but at the same time, they said that Neil Strauss, who was a veteran oil trader, was duped by me. I mean, the juxtaposition is unreal.
So what is his stance? I mean, it's literally illegal to negotiate and trade Russian oil. I remember Mark Rich famously, 20, 30 years ago was trading Iranian oil. And what he would do is, we had sanctions against Iran. No one was allowed to buy Iranian oil or trade Iranian oil. And countries would buy Iranian oil half price. And then Mark Rich would buy it just a little bit more. They'd make their money. You go sell it as some other form of oil. He was on the FBI's most wanted list for doing that. Yet you're saying this Neil Strauss, you're accusing Neil Strauss of doing the same thing. How is he bypassing any sort of CIA, FBI investigations, or why isn't he a wanted man?
Well, he is. I mean, he has multiple countries already sanctioned him.
But Garv, sanctioning someone and putting them on a wanted list of investigation and/or incarceration are two vastly different things.
I mean, look, when it was very interesting. So Truss ended up hiring this lobbyist. His name is Ankit Desai, who publicly actually lobbied for him from the Biden administration, and he represented him when he was sanctioned. Now, I cannot tell this for certain. I have no way to know otherwise. But was Ankit Desai, was the lobbyist, Ankit Desai, involved in stopping the Biden administration from doing the actions that you are talking about? In my opinion, absolutely. The agency should investigate such matters, should understand where is this going. The American people definitely need to know. But a $2 million contract that was publicly disclosed in the FARA filings from an ex-Biden official, that maybe that was a protection that he had got before. And hopefully this administration can look into that further. And this Justice Department can investigate that further.
Is that what you're asking? Are you asking the Trump DOJ?
I would love the Trump DOJ to figure out what exactly is Neil Strauss' real connection.
Is he still operating?
I don't know whether he's operating or not, but you hear about it. He has morphed his entity from Paramount, and then he set up another company called Harvest that magically went from grain trading to oil trading. And Public Eye, which is a great online investigative platform, they actually wrote about it, and you can see it. You can see an article that talks about the mysterious grain trader that became an oil trader. Mm-hmm. So is he still fronting for it? I don't know, but that's something that the government should definitely investigate.
No question about it. No doubt about it. It's worth an investigation, because we put these sanctions in for a reason. We put them in because other countries aren't supposed to be, other people or countries or companies are not supposed to be negotiating deals with a sanctioned company. Iran, North Korea, Russia. And if you do, there should be penalties for it. All right, Garv, we're going to let you go. We're going to stay on top of it. And I have to reach out to Neil Strauss to find, let's hear what he has to say about it as well. But I appreciate your time. And by the way, if he's doing some sort of smear campaign against you, which you say he is, and your family, there is absolutely no reason for that, no time for that. But we will get into it a little bit more. And as the story develops, we'll have you back to talk about it again. Garv.
Yeah, thank you for your time. And I really appreciate you hearing the story out. And it's been a very painful time for me because of the smear campaign. But I definitely hope the Trump Justice Department investigates this further.
No, we know a person over there or two, don't we? All right. Nice to meet you, sir. And we will stay on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
And before we head to break, just wanted to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. You can hear this show anytime you miss an interview, want to hear more about that interview we just did, go there, but you must subscribe either on one of the podcast channels, Spotify, Apple, or on YouTube. Do both. They're free, absolutely free. We'll send you stuff, and we'll even put content up that's not part of the show. It's unique content. Make sure you subscribe. We'll be back in 2.5 minutes. Alrighty. Okay, Benjamin, can you get on Voice of God, please?
Yes,
that looks
sir.
like a wonderful, beautiful pier. Where is it?
That is a beautiful pier in Naples, Florida.
Naples, so beautiful. Look at that weather, too. It's live, right?
Yes, sir, it's live.
Now, what happens if someone, like, all of a sudden, like, runs up to the camera and, like, strips down naked or something? Are we in
cut
trouble?
immediately.
We cut out. Okay, thank you. All right, well, our Real America's Voice border correspondent, Oscar Ramirez, has been busy going to several cities covering the mass graves that have been found due to escalated violence by the cartels in Mexico. Oscar, tell us the latest of what you found, but also I really, I'm fascinated by this 17 members of El Chapo Guzman's family turning themselves in San Ysidro. Tell us about both of those, if you don't mind.
Yeah, regarding the 17 members yesterday, the 17 family members of El Chapo Guzman delivered and surrendered themselves to the Port of Entry of San Ysidro. We were there with you, Eric, just more than a couple of days ago, and they delivered themselves to the authorities. Apparently, they came to a plea agreement with the authorities of the DEA. Now, what is this going to do? It is going to escalate a war in the central parts of the city. Already, journalists are analyzing that the opposition cartel, where El Chapo was at war with, now they are going to see that this is a lack of vulnerability and possibly a vulnerability on the opposition of the Chapo's cartel. So this can escalate into inner violence inside of the state of Culiacan. And regarding the mass graves, it doesn't stop, Eric. Just a couple of days ago, 8 people were found in a mass grave and just around an hour away from this location. We are going to be directed there tomorrow, as the cartel has been massively, operating on these mass graves, and more are continuing to be discovered by the family members, not by the governments. These mass graves have been discovered by collective groups that they're dedicated to search for the family members, because the government has not been doing their jobs, Eric.
So Oscar, regarding the El Chapo family, 17 members of the family, they turned themselves into the U.S., the DEA. Does that mean they're our problem now? Because I recall very, very well a couple of times El Chapo being, incarcerated, on the Mexico side, and then getting out through that tunnel that was built with a motorcycle underneath his cell. But all of a sudden now, are we going to have to house 17 criminal members of El Chapo family?
Well, yes, they came to an agreement, and one of the agreements was possibly that El Chapo asked the government of the United States or the sons of El Chapo to protect their family members, because this could escalate into a war. It has been already diagnosed by intelligence officers that it was a move from El Chapo Guzman family, and also a plea deal to just arrive and protect their family members. Meanwhile, they're having this disclosure of a lot of information regarding the opposition cartel, that is the Mayo Zambada, which it has also been the continuous war that has been going on in the country of Mexico, and also that El Mayo, it is arrested, and it is just, an investigation by the authorities of the United States.
Now let's, another thing that, Oscar, you were on, by the way, you're doing some great work at the border. I don't care what Fox says, we have great border reporters as well. There was a mayor, I believe, is it a mayoral candidate who was assassinated, and was she assassinated by the cartels? I think we have a little bit of video while you tell us about this. Is your video, I believe.
Yes, she was assassinated in a rally by the organized crime and the Cartel. This was yesterday. She was assassinated. She was walking, more than 20 gunshots. On the way that she was assassinated, 3 other people also got shot and got killed on this particular rally. And this is the violence that has escalated with the cartel. On the year 2024, more than 36 political, candidates were assassinated before Claudia Sheinbaum took office. Why? Because, it's the release of the power, and it is passed on to another president. And in that limbo, you will have these kind of unstable wars, inner wars inside of these states. So this just happened in the state of Veracruz. Sadly, a political candidate for mayor got assassinated. It is not a thing that is new for Mexicans, but it's making world news, as this kind of violence towards politicians that is continuing over here.
So who's got the cojones to run for elected office anymore, especially if they're against the cartels and the violent crime that they bring?
It is part of the corruption. It is why, the Trump policies, what they have done, they have given the audacity also and the courage to the right-wing political party and the conservative party in the central parts of Mexico to basically, call out all the corruption and call out all the corrupt officials that they are governing right now. This is why these inner wars are happening. The Trump policies has shut down completely illegal immigration, trafficking of humans, all massively as it was with the Biden administration. This has completely drifted into another market. That is this inner wars and these inner war agreements with these dirty politicians that a lot of them, they don't want to give in, Eric, to the corruption. A lot of them, they actually want to fight the corruption and fight the cartels, but they got to go against this, evil and this terrorist that they basically took away her life.
I wonder if, rather than getting involved in these elections and getting involved in the inner workings of Mexican elections and government, maybe we provide support for the candidates who want to fight the drug cartels. Like, just provide protection for these people. Nothing else. Don't get involved in their political stance. Just make sure they're not assassinated so that they can get in. It strikes me as if you own the government, you're a cartel and you own the government, and especially with the border closed, now they're freaking out. They're not making the money they were making before, right? So, Oscar, they got to find other ways to make money, and so they have to have people on the payroll now. About right?
Absolutely. And, one of the most horrific murders back in 2024, one political candidate his head was decapitated and they put it on the top of a vehicle to send a message to all politicians that they were not given in to the opposition or they were not being bought off by a specific cartel in their own state. So this is, this is the sad thing about it, that this is the continuous war. This, sadly, and I will say it like this, Eric, this needed to happen for the Mexican people to open their eyes of the narco government, the corruption, and ultimately the level of violence that we're dealing with in the country.
Very quickly, Oscar, the other story that's running around America right now is there's some 40 or so white African farmers who are seeking political asylum, and they legitimately have a reason to ask for political asylum. Do we have that soundbite of the guy who's causing all the violence against white African farmers in South Africa? Listen to how he speaks of white people and what he thinks may end up happening. Listen.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now.
At some future date, we may call for the slaughter of white people. Is that correct?
Let's deal with that at that future date. I don't know what's going to happen.
And the reason why I bring that up, Oscar, is because that is real political asylum. You're fearful of your life and for your life in your home country for things like race or whatever. Oh, it doesn't matter what it is. You present yourself to America and we take you in. That's what we do. It's called political asylum. But the 15, 20 million illegals that came over under Joe Biden's, there wasn't that type of fear of their lives for those people, was it?
No, there are a lot of them. They were fake asylum seekers, and a lot of them, they were coming for economical reasons. It is why the majority of the massive millions that arrive to non-ports of entry, they arrive with economical reasons to enter the United States. This reminds me, Eric, when a lot of Ukrainians and a lot of Russians started arriving right here to Tijuana to try to deliver themselves under a bellicose conflict into the United States of America, and progressive mercenary activists from the United States and NGOs started coming over here to say that it was unfair that people from Haiti and people from color, they were not getting in the front line to enter the United States of America, and people from Ukraine and Russia, they were getting into the front. This is all about this, stupidity of war, of racial division, and what they are bringing over here also into Mexico to prioritize who enters and who does not enter into the United States.
Crazy. These people, these liberals here, they worry about 40 white Africans, not 20 million, whatever, 15, 20 million illegals, unvetted, unvaccinated, don't know if they're, and a lot of them were on the terror watch list. Oscar Ramirez, stay safe, my friend. You got a big day tomorrow as well. Stay out of harm's way. We need you back here. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Back in 2 minutes. that's beautiful. Ooh, that is beautiful. Las Vegas, Nevada. That is just wonderful. Thank you. Ben, where's the control cam? Let's see it. Let's go. There you go. Been to Vegas, Ben?
I have not, no.
Oh.
One day we'll get there.
No, I think it looks like a rad road trip. I'm thinking, what do you say, boys? Yeah, I'll bet. All right, so Democrats hate white Christians. Say it ain't so. Look, the optics have been pretty bad for Democrats lately. After all, they did just spend weeks defending someone who entered the country illegally as a known gang member, abused the heck out of his wife, and aided in human trafficking. We know all that. That was a new low in a series of lows, including picking Joe Biden to be their president, unjustified lawfare against President Trump and MAGA, calling Trump Hitler, and those who vote for Trump garbage white supremacists. Just a few examples, but yesterday provided yet a new low for Democrats and showed peak racism. On Monday, American officials welcomed a group of around 60 white South African farmers at Washington Dulles International Airport. There are only about 60 refugees, such an insignificant number, it's hardly even worthy of a mention, but the left took the bait. President Trump once again inadvertently allowing Democrats to show exactly who they are. They just can't help themselves.
Trump administration, they're saying that essentially these white South Africans assimilate better, and they're also not as much of a security risk. That's really causing a lot of people to be appalled, frankly. And I also should tell people that this violence that they're talking about that are dealing with these Afrikaners, I've been hearing from people that say there is violence in South Africa, but it's affecting everybody of every single race, Katie.
Oh, my goodness. Not to be outdone, it's like MSDNC held a contest for its anchors and contributors as to who could be the most ridiculously angry and racist.
So deeply and morally wrong-headed and repulsive. These are the descendants of the people who created the most diabolical system of white supremacy in human history, apartheid, is that the Afrikaners have become the darling of these right-wing white supremacist movements around the world, that it's like the lost cause for them. It's like the old Confederacy. They're held up as these white Christians who are being dispossessed of their land.
The Trump administration is a lot of things, but one thing it certainly is a white nationalist project.
Oh, the Trump administration is a white nationalist project, he said on MSDNC. I see. Back to the whole MAGA is racist and white supremacist trope, because that worked so well for them in the 2024 election. Or maybe, just maybe, the subsequent reaction to what happened years ago is heavy-handed and maybe unwarranted. Maybe these people are unnecessarily suffering in their own country, despite having done absolutely nothing wrong themselves. It would be the definition of seeking asylum, actually. It doesn't matter. You see, the government says it's fine, and, well, CNN just flat out believes them.
The South African president says the people arriving in the U.S. today do not fit the definition of refugees, and that what Trump has been told about their persecution is false.
Oh, so the South African president says so, eh? Well, then I guess it must be true. Case closed. Then
and they got this big celebration, and these are the only, white African descendants of apartheid, the European colonialists, or those who participated in apartheid. They're of all ages, including children.
South Africa says that the allegations about persecution of these people, the allegations are false, according to the South African.
These are political leaders, on video, mind you, actually saying it out loud, repeatedly, for cheering audiences. They're calling for the murder of white South Africans. That's what's going on there. Oh, and they've spent the last 20 years stealing land and murdering these white South African farmers. But other than that, nothing happening, says Andrea Mitchell, because they said so. This video is unreal. The reporter goes from saying that South African leaders deny allegations of persecuting whites, and then a few seconds later details a policy that allowed the government to take land without compensation.
White House says white South Africans are under a, quote, government-sponsored race-based discrimination over a law it claims allows racially motivated seizures of land. But South African leaders strongly denied the allegations. The South African government says Afrikaners, who are descendants of Dutch settlers, benefit the most economically. While they make up only 7% of the population, they also occupy most of the farmland. The new law in question gives the South African government permission to take land without compensation in certain cases to address disparities to black South Africans as a result of the apartheid era.
I guess nothing's happening, right? Oh, and here's South African leader Julius Malema basically saying that at some point, white people may be slaughtered. Oh, it's not just once. He said it a couple times.
Must never be scared to kill. A revolution demands that at some point there must be killing.
I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I'm saying to you, we have not called for the killing of white people, at least for now.
At some future date, we may call for the slaughter of white people. Is that correct?
Let's deal with that at that future date. I don't know what's going to happen.
We may call for the slaughter of white people. Well, not yet. That guy's isn't anybody. He's a member of the South African National Assembly. Malema is the leader of the far-left communist economic freedom fighters. By the way, leftist communists seeing the racist red thread through leftism more and more. This man will likely lead South Africa. Do CNN and MSDNC have access to the internet at all? Did they see that? Did any of their producers do any research at all? We found that in 5 minutes. No. All they can do is muster up South Africa denies the allegations of persecution against white farmers in the country. And that's it. Case closed. CNN, MSDNC, they're fine with it. No research. Don't check a source. Don't do anything. I'm sorry, but that's the very definition of needing asylum. So yeah, we should welcome these refugees. Isn't it outstanding? We saw videos of millions of unvetted illegal migrants invading our country, pouring in. Joe Biden let them in, millions of them, no problem. But suddenly, if you recall, 50 migrants were sent to Martha's Vineyards, and suddenly they weren't so into this whole idea of bringing people in when it went to Martha's Vineyard, their backyard, not so much. And they cried and celebrated when they were wheeled away. Remember that? And now 59 South Africans, that's the line in the sand for liberals. That's the hill they're willing to die on. The hypocrisy reeks for miles. I don't recall any of the leftist machines sitting on MSDNC or CNN asking for proof of issues in their home countries with the millions coming over. Army-aged men crossing over our border by the millions. 250,000 a month at one point. And none of these pundits or hosts ever question their motives. And now they're deep diving into what actually qualifies as true asylum when 59 white people want to get over here. I actually haven't seen CNN doing their research on anything in ages. So in a way, it's kind of refreshing to see them so inspired.
But President Trump hasn't allowed refugees from there here, nor from Sudan, where there's been terrible fighting. The only Africans President Trump has paved a quick path for are these South Africans. And yes, they are white. They are Afrikaners, descendants of Dutch settlers to South Africa.
Oh, yes. And by the way, they are white. Oh, yes, that's right. Don't worry. They make it very clear why they're against bringing in these refugees into this country. Surprise, surprise.
So if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No. They can
These refugees are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Are you against them coming here?
Holland, probably. Holland,
Are you
yes.
against them coming here?
I'm against the hypocrisy of this administration.
No, that's not the question. The question is, are you against them coming here?
If there was actually a genocide happening, like there is in other places in Sudan, in the Congo, I'm not opposed for Congolese and for the Sudanese to come to Africa, just like I'm not opposed to Venezuelans and South Americans coming to America.
God, they're white Christians, so they should just go to Germany or Holland or wherever they came from. But only Venezuelans, Central Americans are welcome to seek asylum in America. Maybe some terrorists, too, mixed in them. Don't worry about that. Did I get that right, CNN? Never mind that they're calling for killing farmers outright. Nothing?
Shoot to kill. Yamaza. Kill the poor, the farmer. Kill the poor, the farmer.
Shoot to kill, shoot the boar, shoot the farmer. They're all white. That's pure evil right there. A member of their parliament refuses to condemn the genocide of whites, sings and dances out loud about killing white farmers. Imagine that. All it took for the media to turn against refugees was letting in a few white families instead of millions and millions and hordes of unrelated military-age men. Shame on you, Democrats. Shame on you on the left for juxtaposing the removal of criminals and violent gang members who are here illegally with actual victims of oppression, purely based on what? Their skin color. They prove exactly who they are and what they stand for time and time again. Their collective meltdown over these refugees just proves that words like refugee and immigrant has always meant non-white to them. Anything else, completely unacceptable to the party of racism. We're back 2.5. Check it out. Hey, Ben, I know you've been to Nashville, Nash Vegas. Affectionately called Nash Vegas because it's almost as fun as Las Vegas. A rainy day in Nashville, huh?
Yeah, it looks like it's either raining or snowing.
Come on, brother.
I know, it looks
May.
thicker than rain.
It's May 13th. Yeah, that's Broadway. That's the main street. By the way, if you get up at 7 in the morning, people will be drinking in the bars on Broadway with the doors wide open on the street, 24 hours a day. What a fun place. All right, folks, it seems like the leftist rage over Donald Trump is not going anywhere. Here we are in May 13th, 6 months after he was elected, and the ridiculous behavior that we've seen from the Dems has been exactly the same since the second Trump victory was announced. Crybaby Jimmy Kimmel, who literally broke down on live TV once during his first post-election Trump rant, is still running his pie hole about the president. Here's his latest jab.
I'm an optimistic person. I'm not hysterical. I laugh when people say, oh, you've got Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah.
If you're a reasonable person, you should have Trump derangement syndrome. Right. And by the way, I think he has derangement syndrome about us, too. The fact of the matter is, this is a dangerous person. This is a stupid person, and that's a bad combination.
It must be really, really miserable to be Jimmy Kimmel, just to have that much anger and animosity over one person night after, and then to be a comedian during the whole time. It's crazy. Hakeem Jeffries, Timu Obama, as they call him, has been all over Trump in recent weeks, even more so than usual. He seems to be facing some inter-party pressure to go out there and make himself look like a moron every single time he gets to appear on mainstream networks. Here is Timu Obama talking about how this administration is handling China.
If you are the Chinese, what have you learned about the art of the deal?
China punked the administration, and the administration backed down. That's no surprise because we've seen that happen over and over and over again.
Well, see what they're going with China, got one over on Trump. We see what they do. And when they do it, they all get the same talking points. Jeffries wasn't the only big shot Dem to regurgitate that same tired talking point yesterday. Old man Chucky Schumer gave his 2 cents on Trump's China talks, and to no surprise, it sounded a whole lot like what we just heard from Hakeem Jeffries. Listen.
On tariffs. Early this morning, it was reported that Donald Trump caved to Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party with virtually nothing to show for American workers. Donald Trump has changed his mind once again on his tariffs with a new deal with China to pause most tariffs for 90 days. Sadly, it looks like China has once again gotten the better of Donald Trump.
What are you talking about, Schumer and Jeffries? This is exactly what Trump said he was going to do. He said he was going to raise tariffs until the other counterparty lowered their tariffs. They both lowered them to 10%, 90 days. Hopefully find a number that they're both comfortable with. That's the point. Dummies. I'm against tariffs. I got it. But if it's going to be handled this way, great. Bam. It's working. By the way, the complete meltdown of the stock market is now upended. The stock market's now higher. through all the mess, through all that tariff mess, is now higher. So good on you, Trump. Democrats pretend to care about all races, but really, if you listen closely to some of their toxic messaging, it's become clear that these lunatics really do not like white people at all. This next clip comes from a delusional Dem who wants to impeach Trump. Listen to what he classifies as progress.
America is becoming more diverse. America is, celebrating our diversity. And our diversity is our strength. And we are seeing that diversity in academia, we have seen that in businesses, and now we are seeing that in politics. And which is really important, that we focus on and celebrate our diversity because it is the diversity that has made this America as great a country as it is.
Okay, got it. Less white is better for a Democratic politician. Whatever. You do realize a lot. You need a lot of white people to win an election. You remember the way that CNN and MSDNC completely ignored and ferociously denied Biden inflation was even a thing. Transitory. Remember that one? These shallow talking heads would leave their mansion, spend triple on gas on their way to the studio, and then hop in the chair and tell the radical viewers that nothing costs a single cent more. They don't feel it at all. The way these monsters covered Biden inflation is worth mentioning right now because they have been all over Trump. Every time any average price moves by a cent, these people jump on TV and tell us all that it's the end of the world is coming because of Trump derangement syndrome. Well, basically. Anyway, the same people who ignored 9% inflation under old Joe Biden are suddenly pretending to give a damn about prices. Listen.
I'm even more upset.
In case folks are, it kind of leaves me, because I feel like I'm doing okay. And even I'm like, well, why is everything so high? The coffee, chocolate, olive oil, rice, alcohol, across the board alcohol, fruit, seafood, nuts, cheese, clothing, shoes, books, toys, cars, appliances, cookware, power tools, furniture, mattresses, strollers. 97% of strollers are manufactured in China, by the way, which is I learned this week. These are all of the things that are going to be impacted by Donald Trump's tariffs. You know, today I've been really struck by the Chamber of Commerce.
So under Biden, prices rose they were hitting 9%, the highest they've been since Jimmy Carter. And now it's 0.2% higher, the lowest it's been today. It was announced, inflation, 0.2%, the lowest it's been in 4 years since the last time Trump was president. So these nonsense, these lunatics, these morons who want to talk numbers and economy and inflation, you got Kamala bounced out of the presidency, but the talking heads on MSDNC and CNN want to talk numbers and inflation, sound like absolute clowns and fools, ignoring 9%, but saying somehow the 2% that Trump is doing, lowest in 4 years, makes her wonder because she feels the extra prices. Now she feels it. Oh, you must have been really feeling it under Joe Biden. Not sure where you were feeling it, young lady. Well, this next one is from actress Jennifer Coolidge. Exactly why the elite Dems need to stay in Hollywood and never leave. The less we hear from them, these wealthy, ignorant airheads, the better. With that said, here's Jennifer's latest, a quote about gay people, which she spit out during a speech at a college graduation. Listen.
I just want you to know that I'm excited that I'm speaking with, some very excited gay students. Some less excited hetero students.
Jennifer Coolidge, you remember Stifler's mom? She peaked at Stifler's mom. She's good in White Lotus, but I mean, wow. Do you need to be this woke? Another day, another head scratcher from the ever so ignorant Jazzy Jasmine Crockett. Yes, we get to hear from Jasmine again. Here it is, folks. Here she talking about Kamala Harris and doesn't really need much more of an introduction at this point. Listen.
How big do you think this black men voter issue with Kamala Harris, how much of that do you think was specific to hesitation of voting, a black man hesitating to vote for a black woman?
That one of the issues that he was running into with black and brown communities was that she had been a prosecutor. And
so it's more of a resume thing that,
there was definitely some resume stuff that disallowed her from being able to build the type of rapport of trust within these marginalized communities that historically have been targeted.
Oh, I get it. America's racist. Play the race car, race car, race car, race car. It didn't really work for Kamala. I'm not sure why Jazzy thinks this is the hill to die on, too. Well, it seems like Dove, the soap brand, has decided to take the Bud Light approach to advertising. Well, here's their latest ad, which features a dude, a male actor, who's pretending to be a woman in this very strange attempt to sell soap. Are you watching? Look at that. That's a dude. I guess my question here is, why not just hire a woman? Right? You're selling soap. Dove is a historically female brand, right? Why not just, is there a big trans dude community you can sell a bunch of soap to? That ad was all of 6 seconds. Why not just employ a woman to advertise women's hair products that will mainly be purchased by women? By the way, before we move on, apparently old Joe was considering a wheelchair if his reelection bid went just a little differently. Jake Tapper, for whatever reason, saw this story as another great opportunity to sell his pathetic book. Listen to this shameless guy pretending to be a journalist.
I'm curious about what his advisors were saying at the time as you look at this, as you reported out this book.
So the White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, was telling White House aides that President Biden's deterioration of his spine, the degeneration, was so significant that if he fell one more time, that he might have to be in a wheelchair and serve in a wheelchair for his second term. But everybody pushed off the notion that he use a wheelchair until after the election. This is all part of a larger whole where the Biden White House tried to hide the extent of his deterioration, both physical and cognitive.
So Jake wrote a book about how the Biden cognitive decline was hidden by the media. He was a prime culprit of hiding Biden's cognitive decline, and he writes a book about it now. These people are just disgusting. They're horrible, horrible people. Mainstream media sucks. Sorry. Okay, before we head to break, I want to remind you about my podcast and YouTube page, which are both updated daily. Of course, you can watch this show. If you missed anything, you can watch it anywhere, anytime. But we add a lot of content that isn't part of this show. We add unique content, and I'm able to say things I'm technically not supposed to say and sometimes slip out here on the show. Got to subscribe. It's free. It'll always be free. Subscribe at one of those places or all of them. All right, folks, we'll be back in 2.5 minutes. That's cool. Oklahoma City. I've never been there. I'm guessing the state capitol right up there, Main Street. About right, Ben? State capitol, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it looks like it.
We'll go with it. We'll go with that. All right, let's bring in Natalie Winters, who's hosting the Bannon War Room tonight. Natalie, you know what was interesting to me? I noticed in a lot of journalists, and I say journalists, I mean the lamestream media, legacy, corporate BS, lying media, is complaining that Trump on this trip to Saudi Arabia left off Associated Press, Reuters, and Bloomberg, and they're freaking out. Like somehow he's changing the rules, but they're saying, oh, he's not providing access. Meanwhile, the Trump administration, Caroline Leavitt, has provided more access to people like us here and more access to millions upon millions of people than any other presidency. What's your response to the mainstream media?
Well, I just think it shows you the contempt that they have for our audiences, right? They think that the people who read the New York Times, the AP, however small of a cohort that may be, that they're more deserving to have access than the people who watch your show, than the people who watch The War Room. And it's quite funny, having actually read their statement, your audience will get a kick out of their final sentence. The WHCA is advocating for the wire service journalists to return to their seats on Air Force One, where they have reliably covered every president for decades, not for us, but for the millions, I would fact check that, of Americans who depend on their reporting every day. I don't think there are millions of Americans who rely on the AP. I think we read it to mock it. And obviously, as one of the new media people being in there, they failed. I told a CNN reporter that on Joe Biden. That's why we're there. But I think what it comes down to, more just from a cultural perspective, having spent a lot of time around these people, they don't think that, blue collar Americans, the truck drivers who listen to our programming, that they should have a say in the media discourse. The elites need to control it. And I think you see it replicated on basically every issue, political, explicitly political or otherwise.
It's so hard for them to give up any sort of control. And they've had really a lot of control over the narrative. 90% lean left, 90+% lean left. And they just do not like the fact that Trump is opening the door to the other half of the country that were being ignored for so many presidencies. Take a look at this video. And the reason why I'm asking you to look at this, I was hoping Steve would weigh in us because he's been on these foreign trips with President Trump. I love this. Now, let me set it up before you roll it, Ben. Trump's over there. One of the first things he did after he lands, beautiful welcome by bin Salam. Wonderful, very much different than the fist bump that he gave Joe Biden in 2022, I believe, when he went there. But here's the point. They sat down and had a little coffee and watch Marco Rubio, watch Trump, watch bin Salam, and watch one of bin Salam's right-hand men, so to speak. Watch them sip the coffee and pay close attention to Trump. Watch. There they are. They're all getting coffee. Bin Salam takes a sip. Rubio chugs like it's iced coffee. He just throws back an espresso. Bin Salam gets another one. Rubio takes another gulp, and Trump, quietly and wisely, sets it aside. Now, I don't think he likes coffee. I'm pretty sure he doesn't. However, I love the fact that he didn't drink that whether he likes coffee or not. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, my concern would be someone getting, to poison the president.
I mean, I think that's certainly a concern, although I don't even think he has to fly overseas to have that concern be all that prevalent. I think here at home, he's maybe even less safe. But I think from start to finish, I think today's events really have just been kind of an epic troll, whether they're playing, YMCA, they're playing God Bless America, and the Saudis are applauding for him for minutes on end. I think the Trump team has executed extremely well, right? What started as a trip that was originally more so for Secretary of Defense Hegseth to go to the Middle East, then all the cabinet secretaries jumped in, Air Force One was packed. Everyone wanted to be with President Trump, not just from the Saudi side of things, but the American side of things too. And I think you've seen it, right? Everyone wanting to talk and shake hands. I really think the Trump team has executed wonderfully. I don't think anyone is missing any of the wire reporters on Air Force One. I think you and I will, probably still be able to do our shows today and tomorrow without the brilliance of AP.
Or Reuters or Bloomberg. And by the way, they saw bin Salam and Trump signed a $600 billion trade agreement while there. So great news. Natalie, it's all yours. Show's all yours. Have a great war room.
Thank you so much, Eric.